Okay, now we're going to talk about SPI 9.1. We're going to talk about atoms. You need to know that, recognize that all matter consists of atoms. Okay, so that is the main idea or the standard here. Okay, so now let's define actually what matter is. Matter is anything that takes up space. And when I talk about something taking up space, it's taking up an area. Okay, so it takes up area or takes up space. That is known as volume. Okay, and also to be matter, besides taking up space, it also has to have mass. Now, practically everything that you could name me is considered matter. However, there's a few things that are in this exception. Some of those are everything that's on the electromagnetic spectrum. Here are some examples. X-rays, guys, are not matter. Either is light rays. Radio waves are also not matter. And the reason why these are not matter is because they're simply just a transfer of energy through matter that is already there. Okay? So themselves actually are not matter. Okay? Let's continue on. Okay, now let's define what an atom is. An atom is the most basic unit that we have of matter. And remember, matter, again, volume and space. Okay, it consists of subparticles called protons, neutrons, and also electrons. Now, atoms are extremely, extremely small. You can't see them. Okay, and believe it or not, they're actually made up of mostly empty space. Okay, now this is something hard for us to visualize, but believe it or not, in all matter, there is atoms, and those atoms are always moving. They're always in motion. The desk that you're sitting at right now, or the chair that you're sitting in, believe it or not, has atoms. It's made of atoms, and those atoms are sitting there moving. Now, you don't notice it, but they are vibrating in their place, okay? So that's a kind of a new idea or a new concept, okay? So let's move on. Now, we talked about these subparticles, okay? Let's talk a little more in detail about those. Protons have a positive charge, okay? And they're found actually inside of the nucleus of an atom. Just like you learned last year that a cell has a nucleus, like the main core, okay, so do atoms, all right? Okay, and I put a positive charge over here because protons are positively charged. Okay, next we're going to talk about neutrons. Neutrons have actually no charge. They're neutral. See that neutral in quotations? And they're also found inside the nucleus of the atom. So inside the nucleus, you have the positive protons and the neutrons that have no charge, or there's none. There's not a charge at all. Okay. Next, we have electrons, and electrons have a negative charge. Okay. Now, the neat thing about electrons, and we start learning about the elements, is that we find out the periodic table is arranged according to the number of protons, but we also see a trend in their electrons. Okay, and these are found outside of the nucleus of the atom and in a place called the electron cloud, right? So for now, what you need to know is, in summary, everything that is a solid, liquid, or gas is made up of what? Atoms. All right, now let's actually look at a model of an atom. This is what an atom looks like, okay? And we're going to name the parts. And remember, these are things that you actually are so small that you don't see. But let's take a look. Okay, so all these negative things here, notice they're in a cloud, kind of, they're on the outside of the nucleus. Those are called electrons, okay? And remember, they have a negative charge. Next, you see the things I've shaded blue. Notice they don't have anything inside their circles, okay? They're neutral. So we call those neutrons, neutral neutrons. And last but not least, we have to mention these positives, which is these positive protons is actually what makes the atom of the element that it is, okay? And we'll go more into elements a few weeks later, but you need to know the basics of an atom. You have your protons, neutrons, and electrons. And don't forget that the neutrons and protons, as you see in this picture here, are located inside the nucleus. Okay, guys, that's all we have today for SPI 9.1 looking at atoms.